President Paul Biya chairs the meeting of the Higher Judicial Council, during which the files of magistrates eligible for promotion and those of graduates from the School of Magistracy came under scrutiny. Cameroon and the continent mark the African Day of Decentralization and Local Development at a time when the decentralization drive in the country is under the spotlight. As students go home for long vacations, the issue of organizing holiday classes runs into the talk of the day as the debate heightens on whether or not such classes should be organized at all. Those are our lead stories. Good evening and welcome to the 7:30 News. I am Ben Menopofong.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
You're welcome once again. The President of the Republic, President of the Higher Judicial Council, Paul Biya, has chaired an in-camera session of the Council during which the files of magistrates eligible for promotion were examined. Files of new graduates from ENAM, that is the School of Magistrates in Administration and Magistracy, especially those from the Common Law Department, were also studied. In his preliminary remarks, President Paul Biya urged the members of the Council to show proof of objectivity and impartiality. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashunyenti reports.
The Unity Palace this Monday, August 10, 2020, in all its splendor and solemnity, and the event itself no less significant, members of the Higher Judicial Council arrived for the much publicized session in singletons. Some of them old hands, but many more greenhorns in this business. But all the 17 members answer present. On their faces reads a mixture of both eager anxiety and determination of having to, in the presence of the President of the Republic, help shape one of the arms of government, the judiciary. The Higher Judicial Council are seated here, chaired by the head of state, by statute that the President of the Republic, in cases needing presidential pardon. It makes recommendations and proposals on the absorption of ENAM magistracy graduates into the judicial corps, the promotion, appointment, transfers, and discipline of judicial officers. The studious deliberations take place behind these closed doors with the intention of entrenching the credibility of Cameroon's judiciary. Speaking to the press later, the Minister of State, Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, Laurent Esso, who doubles as the Vice President of the Council, explains the atmosphere of sincerity and objectivity that have characterized the discussions in line with the prescriptions of the President of the Council. He also says no disciplinary file was transmitted to the Council for consideration. The last time this institution met was 3 years ago. Since then, several batches of magistracy trainees from ENAM await deployment, and the older ones look forward to professional mobility. The novelty this year is a study for deployment of graduates of the new Common Law Department in ENAM, who will serve exclusively in the Northwest and Southwest regions. On these matters, the views of the Higher Judicial Council are needed as an obligation, yet these views are simply proposals. The last word comes to the President of the Republic.
Ashunyenti reporting there from the Unity Palace. Today, August 10, 2020, Cameroon joined in celebrating the 10th African Day of Decentralization and Local Development, sensitizing the masses on issues like community participation, the respect of diversity and inclusiveness. All of them values that the African Union wanted to imbibe in the population when it instituted the day some years back. The Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, George Elanga-Obam, chaired the Decentralization Day activities in the Okolo Council in the Central Region, and the celebrations which coincided with the observation of the African Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day. Beatrice Losamba reports on the minister's interaction with the local populations.
To tell a tale in a language intelligible to local communities, use folklore or the drum language. Exactly what the government did to get the message of community participation reach elected officials and players in decentralization and local development.
The decentralization the president is talking about is a decentralization involving everybody. That's why it was important for us to talk about all these things here in Okola.
The population of Okola, 30 kilometers from Yaoundé, the target of this 10th African Day of Decentralization and Local Development, twinned with Africa's 3rd Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day, which sought to drum up respect for the birthrights of birth certificates. In both ceremonies, the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development had a chat with grassroots populations on their role in guaranteeing conflict prevention in line with this year's theme, which centers around local authorities' participation in prevention and peacekeeping.
If decentralization is effective in Cameroon, at least from the conceptual standpoint, its implementation has since remained a process that is yet to spring into full force. As it stands, many continue to find fault with its pace of implementation that they deem rather too slow to reckon with. Ebenezer Akanga has been talking with some mayors on how effective the process is unfolding on the ground and compiled the following report.
Decentralization is enshrined in the Constitution of Cameroon of 1996. General opinion, however, holds that its implementation has been rather too slow. Despite the slow pace of implementation, some mayors can point a finger to spin-offs of decentralization in their council areas.
Right now in Wom, part of the piece is because the youths are on the field trying to work on HIMO projects, which they are trying to maintain the roads themselves. We have a few things like the Paquet Minimum, to which has been decentralized to mayors, which we are able to use our discretion to supply what is necessary.
As the mayors strive to implement decentralization, they face huge challenges.
The mayor is supposed to be the master of that city, to know exactly where to put what. The same time you are planning to do something, it's pillars being planted in that particular piece of land. It's quite frustrating.
The law of December 24, 2019, to institute the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities is seen as a great booster to decentralization in Cameroon.
The grassroots have expressed their wish to be involved in the development of their localities. Let us give them the opportunity to be able to develop. Through the mayors, we'll be able to develop this country, and everybody will be happy about what we will be seeing.
As the local populations clamor to have a greater say in the management of their own affairs, decentralization that is well implemented could provide a solution.
The road to decentralization in Cameroon is still laden with a number of challenges and obstacles, the biggest of them being financial and manpower. Even though competences were fully transferred to councils since 2016, local governments still lack the requisite structures and human resources with which to get the process going. Constantine Baum reports on how the local councils are coping amidst the prevailing hardship and difficulties.
In Cameroon, decentralization constitutes the legal, institutional, and financial means through which regional and local authorities operate to foster local development with the active involvement of the population. Although competencies were fully transferred to councils in 2016, more needs to be done to fast-track the process.
Slowness of transfer of competencies. We started since 2010 to receive some competencies from some ministries, but we will not want to say that decentralization has not advanced, because we have received the General Code of relating to regional and local authorities in December 2009. That was a huge leap towards development and decentralization in Cameroon.
Councils have to embark on more revenue generation sources to meet up the needs of the population.
For the Yaoundé 3 Council, we have dwelt more on revenue-generating development projects. That's why you realize that in the Sam Market, there's some construction that is going on there. The Yaoundé 3 Council has also embarked on commercial stores around Guaikele and also to build an amusement park at Ifulan Lake.
Decentralization is real in Cameroon, but experts think the government has to implement projects to deepen and accelerate the process.
Decentralization has given rise to a new form of conflict, the one pitting mayors and senior divisional officers whom mayors are accusing of having overstepped their supervisory role. Some of these mayors and senior divisional officers are virtually at daggers drawn over the management of some projects and assets in the local council area. As Joyce Kimbi-Fowaju now reports, this mayor-SDO conflict emanates from a truncated reading and interpretation of the law on decentralization.
In addition to competences transferred by the 2004 law, the law of 2019 on the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities beefed up councils with 7 new competences, while at the same time upholding the principle of decentralized governance in Cameroon. The authority of the state at the local level is championed by the senior divisional officers. His scope of interference touches on the control of legality of operations and counseling. 8 areas of competence, including budgeting, loans, spending, development plans, amongst others, are submitted by mayors to the senior divisional officers, and in case of any flaws, these could be annulled or sent forward to the judge. But if the mayor is not satisfied with the decision of the senior divisional officer, he takes a litigation forward to the administrative judge for arbitration.
The death toll of yesterday's accident along the Bafoussam-Fumbot Highway has climbed to 14. Amongst the deceased is the Foyet family that lost 3 of its members, a woman and her 2 children. The staff of the Bafoussam Regional Hospital have been working round the clock to save more lives from amongst the wounded as the afflicted continue to mourn their dead. Here is Chancellor Nanze with an update from CRTV West.
She has become a lone child following the death of her mom, Florence Kimwe, and her 2 siblings. 3-year-old Princess will have to grow up without her loved ones who perished in Sunday's accident, a situation that has plunged the family into consternation.
My wife left the house with my 3 kids at 5:30 a.m. At 6:30 a.m., the eldest called me, telling me they had an accident.
At the Bafoussam Regional Hospital, the number of deaths has increased to 14.
60 patients hospitalized with various grades of trauma, 14 casualties. We still have about 3 corpses without identification. We evacuated.
The hospital at the moment is in need of specialists to handle the injured cases.
We shall be touching our hierarchy, that's the Minister of Public Health, to express the urgency for an orthopedic surgical assistance.
Meantime, the staff is working tirelessly to ensure patients are well taken care of.
And now on to this press release from the Ministry of Transport following that accident, and it reads, the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Masséna Ngale-Bibehe, hereby informs public opinion that 2 fatal road accidents occurred on Saturday, the 8th of August 2020 at 1:30 p.m. in the locality of Idiki on the Kumba-Boya Road, and on Sunday, August 9, 2020 at about 6 a.m. at the locality of Banefo on the Bafoussam-Fumbot Road. The Minister of Transport has therefore decided to withdraw the car registration certificate of the vehicle for illegal transport. The driving license of Mr. Nembot Calver has been withdrawn, and he is prohibited to sit a driving license examination for a period of 5 years for gross violation of the regulation in force. He wishes to reassure the national and international public opinion that the conclusions of ongoing investigations will make it possible to sanction in compliance with the regulations in force the perpetrators whose responsibilities will be established. And it has been signed Jean-Ernest Masséna Ngalebibehe, Transport Minister. You're watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. We are beaming live from Yaoundé. The issue as to whether or not parents should enroll their children for holiday classes is sparking a controversy in discussion circles across the country. While some parents are for it, others are grossly against it, saying that vacations are meant for leisure and recreation and not to bog children down with learning. Our talk of the day tonight confronts the opinions of both parents and experts on this looming controversy. And Yoti Kaleli Sange is our lady on the beat.
Divergent views on refresher courses during holidays make the talk of the day.
I'm against holidays classes.
I'm actually in between, because I think that if a child is good enough, holiday classes are not necessary. But now if the child is slow in learning, holiday classes are good.
Holiday classes are forbidden.
There are more logical explanations as to why it is necessary for school children to rest.
Children use their cognitive to be able to learn, and at each stage, their brain has to develop. When they are charged with a lot of work within the whole year without having a rest during holidays, there's going to be a breakdown, and will help to retard these children.
Yet some parents think otherwise.
It's not like teachers are taking 3 months of holiday classes. No, it's just 1 month, and I think it's warm-up.
Experts, however, remain firm that learners need a break.
Those learners, they need a period of rest. They need to refresh their brains by doing some other kinds of activities.
Still, certain situations may cause opinions to vary.
There are some schools who want their students to catch up the program who was not ended during the period of COVID.
Despite the differing opinions, teachers say the impact of holiday classes could be positive as well as negative.
And for our destination slot on the news tonight, we take you to Mount Jim in the Adamawa region. The picturesque hills make for an interesting tourist ride, but behind the beautiful facade of the rocks is a story, one of German occupation and civil wars, which took place around the rock, a refuge for the people of Galim-Tinyer, reputed for the yearly Nyem Nyem Cultural Festival. Ellis Voije is our guide on that tour.
Mount Jim, cited as one of the major touristic attractions in Galim-Tinyer, Faroandeyo Division.
During war, our ancestors sought refuge here and were able to attack enemies they could see 50 kilometers away from the top.
Up the mountain, the abundance of relics indicate human interaction with nature thousands of years ago.
We have sacred places. These places can help the Nyem Nyem people obtain powers or refuge.
This mountain has lots of potentials. For example, right behind me, they have some water flowing there, and they say it is sacred because the water has some healing powers. They say for those who believe and can make it through and even drink this water, they will be able to have eternal solutions to their problems.
Apart from the mystery that surrounds this water source, it also helped our ancestors to quench their thirst.
After long years of refuge up the mountain, the Nyem Nyem people finally decided to settle at the foot of Mount Jim, an area known today as Galim-Tinyer.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Public health experts are inviting Cameroonians not to pay any heed to the ongoing claim that the coronavirus is over and that life can return to normal. The foul, they say, as they emphasize that the situation still remains very preoccupying, are inviting the populations to stick on to the preventive measures. Let's now join Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergencies Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Eric Tandy, with whom he addresses the issue of COVID-19 screening and some of the problems that they do encounter. Hello, Baldwin. Good evening, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Ben Menopufong, and welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. A drop in the number of persons who go for screening as far as COVID-19 is concerned happens to be the main preoccupation of our public health experts, and they say the main intention of the Ministry of Public Health these days is to get as close as possible to the different nooks and crannies of the country to ensure that more and more Cameroonians get screened for COVID-19, and that's why they say in the days ahead they are going to come up with a program where they are going to go for massive screening in most public and private offices in the 10 different regions of the country. Screening is what we are talking about with Dr. Eric Tandy, a public health expert in the Ministry of Public Health. Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, buddy.
We are talking about massive screening that continues in the 10 different regions of the country. When we talk about this particular kind of screening, what does it entail, and what are some of the problems noticed so far by these public health experts?
Yeah, buddy, you know, from the onset of the pandemic, we've been changing the strategies as far as screening the population is concerned. And right now, at this moment, with the onset of the rapid diagnosis tests that were available to the population, and we've been urging the population to go to designated centers that were allocated, and we've realized that not everybody is doing this. And now we've decided to now move towards the population in order to get them the access of this test kit right to them, so that we can know who is who, as most of us, we are not staying at home, but going to public areas. So the mobile caravan that will be going to the field is a strategy to see that we meet the population at this time, not the population coming to know their status. And then by so doing, remember, with the decentralization process, we've mobilized now community leaders and everybody. So the campaign about sensitization and orienting people to go for screening is now within the communities, and the screening now is equally in the communities. So we are expecting that at the end of this, we should be able to come out with a clear picture of what the situation of COVID-19 is in Cameroon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Tandy. And those with whom these public health experts will be working, they say community leaders, especially religious authorities, they'll be working with these persons in this ongoing campaign to have many persons screened for COVID-19. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama. We deeply appreciate. The 35th Ordinary Session of the Council of Ministers of Finance, Economy and Integration of the Central African Economic Union has ended with the adoption of resolutions that will ease the movement of persons and goods within the sub-region and facilitate economic revival during the post-COVID era. Caroline Oke-Anoma picked out on the key resolutions of the deliberations that held via video conference and pieced together the following report.
While we do not yet have a hand on the duration of the health crisis, CEMAC area GDP is expected to shrink by 4% to 6%. This will definitely be followed by a significant deterioration in the living conditions of the populations, resulting in greater precariousness and poverty. To avoid this from happening, the just ended 35th Ordinary Session of the Council of Ministers under the auspices of the chairperson of the CEMAC Commission, Professor Daniel Ona Ondo, and coordinated by the sitting chairperson of the Council of Ministers of UAC, Alamin Usman May, unanimously agreed that the establishment of the free movement of persons and goods will help relaunch the economy of the sub-region, a vital tool for regional integration.
All the African states must move forward. All the relating points concerning that rationalization are now ready.
Other key milestones achieved at the Council of Ministers are the harmonization of a common tariff fees of CFA 100,000 francs for length of stay in CEMAC member countries, a joint brigade, a combined custom office, a joint interstate police, and above all, seek alternative sources of financing for the development of the sub-region.
Custom officials from across the country are meeting at the Customs Training Academy in Nomayos on the outskirts of Yaoundé to update their skills on customs surveillance. The Director General of Customs, Fungod Edwin Nuvaga, who opened the workshop, invited the participants to take the course seriously as it will equip them with the right tools to check fraud and contraband in the customs sector. Felix Ekale is one of the attendees at the workshop, and he told our reporter Lumastum Davis his expectations from the training.
Our industries are threatened because of contraband and counterfeit. Our health is threatened because of poor products, medical products that are imported in the country without any regulations. Our environment is threatened because of plastics that come in. The security of Cameroonians is threatened. We hear it today, and tomorrow we hear another one. So this gathering is to brainstorm and see what we can do to counter all this. If our economy is threatened, our industries can close down. If we don't counter, the treasury will close down.
The North Delegation of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry has seized a huge consignment of fish in Garua in a move that seeks to stem clandestine fishing in the Lagdo area at this time that the fishing activities have been kept on hold in the dam. The livestock officials have been auctioning the seized fish to the Garua public, an auction sale that got interrupted by the angry fishermen who stormed the auction sale site. Vanessa Wunang Samnung reports from CRTV North.
The yearly halt on fishing activities in the Lagdo Dam of the North region is a tradition which dates back to 2013 and seeks to allow reproduction and guarantee fish in quantity and quality. Despite sensitization, this period is often interrupted by illegal fishing activities, resulting to the seizure of important stock of fish for auction sales.
With the help of law enforcement officials, we've seized an important stock of fish during our routine patrols, and we wanted to use it for auction sale.
The auction sales scheduled for this August 10, 2020 was interrupted by unhappy fish traders who, after close to 2 hours of negotiation with officials, finally came to a compromise. Officials of the North Regional Delegation of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries have vowed to carry on with their repressive activities for an efficient management of aquaculture in the region.
And now sports, our two-day symposium to review the problems faced by the Elite 1 and Elite 2 clubs in the country is underway in Bankomo on the outskirts of Yaoundé. Organized by the presidents from the various clubs, the meeting aimed at drafting proposals on how to improve on the professional league since its creation some 9 years ago. Daniel Lekonde has the details.
Of the country's Elite 1 and 2 football championships in 2011, all hasn't been well. That's why a collective of club presidents met to chart a way forward. Access to stadiums, enduring problems in transfer of players and the league's visibility are discussed. But the main worry is source of finance.
We played 3 years out of Douala. Do you know what my gate fee has been for this season? 500,000. Union Douala, 500,000 gate fee. Meanwhile, for 4 years ago, I had 15 million gate fees. That is the problem that we are facing.
The meeting initially looked like it didn't have the go-ahead of Fecafoot, but there was a presence of an auxiliary of the federation. Persistent cash shortage and lack of sponsors are the main areas the presidents hope their final document to be tabled to Fecafoot and the Ministry of Sports will yield fruits.
That's why we'll leave it for this evening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, 7:30.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.